Lindiwe Sisulu's statements about the rule of law, the constitution and the South African judiciary continues to spark debate. In one of her online pieces, she says wrongdoing has been legitimized under the umbrella of the rule of law. Let's discuss this now. The matters of the rule of law and its influence on society. Advocate Tembeka Ngcukaitobi joining us now via the virtual platform. Advocate, thank you very much for making the time to talk to us. I want to start off this discussion with the very article that you penned on the Sunday Times. It was published on the Sunday Times yesterday. And in that article, you write about a South African story of building constitutionalism, and you place your emphasis on what you say has been one of the greatest stories of human progress in the 21st century. But here's a kicker for me. You say over the past 10 years, the Constitution has tended to be an easy political scapegoat for the dismal performance of the state. I don't want to assume who you are responding to there or who you writing the article in response to. Make that clear for us first as we proceed.
Of course, currently the debate has been sparked off by Minister Sisulu's article, so there is no running away from that. But the theme itself of my piece is a long-standing theme of what I have been writing about the origins of constitutional thought, what I've been writing about the place of the rule of law in society, and what I've been writing about taking a critical view about what progress has been made by constitutionalism and what gaps remain for building a proper constitutional state.
Yeah. At the center of your argument, Advocate, you write about or you give various examples of what you say has been a rule of law that has not been static, at least over the past 30 years. Why was that important for you to point out that the rule of law in our country has not been static?
Yes, I think the ANC and its leaders have routinely, I remember, I think in 2006 or 2007, comments by Mr. Gwede about the judges, and which he claimed were counter-revolutionary. And I think earlier than that, there had been another comment by the former President Mbeki in which he said that the judges were unable to place their mindset within the collective mindset of the country. And so there have been regular criticisms and regular attacks. And essentially all of those boil down to the one thing, that politicians expect judges to be in tune, let me say, with political expectations.
Yeah.
And that's the one problem. The second problem that is the extent to which societal progress, and by that I mean transformation, which lies at the heart of the Constitution, particularly in socio-economic rights delivery. The extent to which transformation is blamed on the judiciary. So people don't see progress in the delivery of housing. They don't see progress in the delivery of education, health, and all of the promises that are contained in the Constitution. And what politicians do is they then assign blame to the Constitution. And the most visible sign of this has been the land reform debate, where the politicians have attacked the Constitution itself as being the cause of the lack of progress in land reform. So it's been necessary, firstly, to isolate where the problem lies, and secondly, to reflect upon what the judiciary has done in the past 27 years. And the only conclusion any fair assessment can come to is that what we have witnessed is an extraordinary progress in the building of constitutionalism, the ideas of the rule of law, the extent to which public power is constrained by the rule of law, the extent to which rights have been expanded. Those have been extraordinary developments, I would say, in the entire 21st century. And when you put the South African story in the context of comparative democracies, we have built a constitutional state that is an envy to many countries. Now that story needs to be told and repeated, because there is otherwise a risk that the failures of the executive would easily be blamed on the judiciary.
Yeah. Advocate, I'm really pressed for time. I need to squeeze two questions to you. So you have reflected on the various areas that you say have been of progress as a result of our laws, but you've already also pointed out on land reform, which has been lagging. And in the article, you're clear as to who is at fault for land reform not progressing. You put that at the door of the state, and I would assume included in there are politicians. Let's talk about the articles, assuming you've read Lindiwe Sisulu's articles, at least some. Do you think there that her reflections on the Constitution were honest, pure and simple?
Yes, I mean, I don't know what her intentions are, and it's very difficult to judge the motives, but the statements were false, objectively false. Whether or not they were intended to be is a different issue. So the question of her motive and dishonesty is not something I would like to reflect upon. But the statements were false in the sense of assigning blame for black poverty. I mean, there's a sentence there that is particularly jarring, which is the idea of what we see is a sea of African poverty. And therefore, the question is, what has this constitution done? Now, that statement is false because the sea of African poverty that we continue to witness, the primary institution in this country that is to blame for it is the executive.
All right.
The people that should deliver houses are politicians.
Very quickly for me, her reflections on the judges and the language she employs. Very briefly, please.
It is unfortunate and it is a regrettable language, and especially the accusation and insult on black judges. There is again a statement there that stands out, which is the African judges have effectively become Uncle Toms, and they have followed their European or English or Afrikaner or white counterparts slavishly, and they have not thought independently. There is just no basis for that accusation and attack whatsoever. In my own article, I've tried to show that actually some of the most progressive judgments have come from people like Pius Langa, they have come from people like Dikgang Moseneke, they have come from people like Sisi Khampempe, whom we are justifiably proud as a nation for to see them accused and attacked as effectively Uncle Toms is most unfortunate, especially coming from a senior politician.
Advocate Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, thank you very much for your time and reflections on this ongoing public discourse, if you want to call it that.